In business, the same principle applies. Your first idea may not work. Your pitch might get rejected. Your product might flop. But that doesn't mean you're not cut out for it. It just means you're learning. Each setback is part of the process. And often, the lessons you learn from failure are far more valuable than anything success could teach you. Here's another important truth. People don't fail because they're not talented enough or smart enough. Most people fail because they give up too soon. They stop 3 feet from gold. They face rejection once, twice, maybe 5 times, and decide it's not meant to be. But success often hides on the other side of the next attempt. The world doesn't hand over rewards just because you show up once. You've got to show resilience. You've got to earn it. Persistence is a decision, not a feeling. You won't always feel like continuing. There will be days when you question yourself, when your confidence wavers, when the results just aren't coming. That's exactly when most people quit. And that's exactly when you must keep going. Because if you don't give up, you still have a chance. But once you walk away, the story ends. Failure also builds something no textbook can teach character. It humbles you. It stretches you. It tests your mindset and forces you to think creatively. And perhaps most importantly, it creates empathy. When you've failed, you understand what others are going through. You become a better leader, a better colleague, a better human being, because you've been through the fire and you didn't let it burn you down. Now, let's be clear, this doesn't mean failure is pleasant. It hurts. It stings. Sometimes it breaks your heart. But there's beauty in that struggle, because when you emerge on the other side, not only are you stronger, you're wiser. You carry the lessons with you, and those lessons compound over time into something powerful. Look around at every innovation, every invention, every breakthrough. It likely came after countless failures. The greatest achievements are often born from the deepest disappointments. So instead of asking, "What if I fail?" try asking, "What will I learn if I do?" You may not win the first time. You might not even win the fifth time. But every step you take makes you more prepared for the moment when you do. And when that moment comes, and it will come, And you'll realize that all the struggle, all the rejection, all the setbacks were worth it, because they shaped the version of you that could handle success, not just receive it. So the next time you hit a wall, remember, it's not the end. It's just a test, a checkpoint, a chance to decide how badly you want it. And if you choose to keep going, to reflect, to rework, to rise again, you're not failing, you're becoming. And becoming is what success is truly made of. Now, let's talk about a principle that's both simple and deeply powerful. Start small, dream big. It's something that sounds almost too obvious, but in reality, most people get it completely backwards. So many of us wait for the perfect conditions before we start anything. We think we need a massive budget, the right connections, years of experience, or some kind of special talent before we can begin. But the truth is, greatness often begins in the most humble and unlikely places. Look closely at any major success story, and you'll usually find it started from something small. A tiny apartment, a rented desk, a side project, a conversation, a problem someone couldn't ignore, the seed of a dream planted not in ideal conditions, but in reality, with all its imperfections, limitations, and uncertainty. And that's exactly what makes the beginning so powerful. When you start small, you're forced to be creative. You're forced to focus. You learn to do more with less. And that builds resilience. It builds resourcefulness. It forces you to figure things out instead of waiting around for the perfect scenario, which, by the way, almost never comes. Starting small doesn't mean thinking small. It just means you're taking that first step with what you have. And the beautiful part is small beginnings carry less risk. You can afford to fail. You can experiment. You can learn without the pressure of having everything on the line. And because of that, you can move faster. You adapt quicker. You get closer to the truth of what works and what doesn't, because you're in motion, not sitting on the sidelines. But while you start small, your vision, your dream should be anything but. Dreaming big gives direction. It creates a North Star. It's what pulls you forward when things get hard, when motivation fades, and when you feel like giving up. A big dream reminds you that what you're doing today, no matter how small matters because it's part of something greater. And when you start small with a big dream in mind, every little task becomes meaningful. The email you send, the product you improve, the late nights, the early mornings, they're no longer just random actions. They're bricks in the foundation of something that matters, something that can grow and scale and evolve into something extraordinary. What often stops people isn't a lack of intelligence or opportunity. It's the fear that their first step is too small to matter, that the little effort they've made, that the little effort they put in won't lead anywhere. But progress rarely feels significant in the moment. Growth is invisible until it becomes obvious. Think of water slowly carving through rock or a plant breaking through concrete. It starts silently, gradually, and then one day it's undeniable. The same applies to your business, your idea, your journey. Don't underestimate small wins. Don't dismiss early stages, because momentum builds, confidence compounds, and as you take one small step after another, you'll suddenly look back and realize how far you've come. But here's the important part. Starting small doesn't mean staying small. You should never limit your vision just because your resources are limited. Think long term. Think impact. Think about the lives you want to change, the problems you want to solve, the legacy you want to leave behind. That vision will shape your decisions. It will guide how you invest your time, your energy, and your creativity. You won't have all the answers. When you start, you'll likely make mistakes. You'll face challenges that seem bigger than your capacity. But your dream gives those struggles purpose. It gives your actions context. And it turns what could have been just a project into a mission. So start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. But never let the size of your start limit the size of your dream. Because the most powerful combination in the world is humble beginnings fueled by an unshakable belief in a bigger future. And that belief, that quiet but relentless vision of something greater, is what sets dreamers apart from doers. It's what turns small steps into giant leaps. Let's continue by focusing on a principle that sounds simple but carries immense depth. Start small, dream big. This idea is often overlooked because many people feel the need to begin with something impressive, right? from the start. There's this misconception that success needs a grand launch, major funding, a big office, or instant recognition. But in truth, most meaningful journeys don't begin with fireworks. They start with a quiet decision to begin. Right where you are, with what you have, there's a kind of magic in starting small. It removes excuses. It forces action. When you stop waiting for the perfect moment and just begin, even with limited tools or limited support, you enter a different mindset. You shift from thinking and wishing to doing and learning. And that's when growth really begins. You're not standing on the sidelines anymore. You're in the game. Small beginnings teach you things that no business school or strategy book ever could. You learn how to stretch a dollar. You learn how to listen more closely to your customers. You learn how to be flexible, how to problem solve on the fly, how to adapt when things don't go according to plan. These lessons become your foundation. They build strength. That strength stays with you even as you grow. And here's the important thing: while your actions may be small, your thinking shouldn't be. Dreaming big is not about ego. It's about vision. It's about knowing that it's about knowing that the thing you're building, no matter how small it is now, has the potential to evolve into something that creates real value, something that matters. That dream becomes your guiding force. It helps you endure setbacks. It keeps you focused when distractions show up. It reminds you why you started in the first place. The danger is when people allow their current limitations to define their long-term vision. They think, I only have this much money, or I don't have a team yet. And they let those conditions shrink their thinking. But the truth is, some of the most extraordinary ideas have come from people who had almost nothing at the beginning. It's not about having the most resources. It's about being resourceful. It's about using whatever small opportunity you do have and turning it into something that grows over time. And growth isn't always visible at first. You might go days, weeks, even months with very little external progress. But underneath the surface, something is happening. Skills are being sharpened. Systems are being built. Confidence is quietly forming. That's how momentum starts. Not with a bang, but with consistency. Show up every day. Improve one small thing. Serve one more person. One customer becomes 5. 5 become 20. And before you know it, you're building something real. It's also important to remember that small doesn't mean insignificant. A small product can solve a big problem. A small team can create massive impact. A small moment of courage, like finally launching your idea, can change the direction of your life. Scale doesn't determine value. Purpose does. There's something else that happens when you start small with a big dream in mind. You build. Humility. You appreciate the process. You don't take anything for granted. When things finally start working, you remember the days when nothing did. That perspective keeps you grounded. It keeps you every of my. It keeps you connected to your mission and to the people you're trying to serve. So many people get stuck because they wait for permission. They wait for funding, for clarity, for validation. But the truth is, no one is going to hand you the perfect conditions. You create them by moving forward anyway. You create them by starting messy, by learning through doing, and by trusting that path will reveal itself as you walk it. When you think about any dream worth chasing, ask yourself, what's one small step I can take today? Not someday. Today. It could be a call, a prototype, a conversation, or even just writing the idea down and committing to it. That small step might feel ordinary, but when done with intention and done consistently, it becomes part of something extraordinary. Because the size of every of my companies, your start never determines the size of your future. Now let's turn to something that often gets overlooked in the business world. Something you can't measure on a balance sheet, but that has the power to define every choice you make. It's the balance between logic and emotion, between intellect and instinct. In other words, using your brain, but following your heart. In any pursuit, whether you're starting a business, building a career, or simply trying to figure out your next step, your brain can take you far. It's built to analyze, to calculate risk, to plan, to compare, to reason. It can help you map out a strategy, see patterns, anticipate problems. You absolutely need that. You need sharp thinking and good judgment. But if you rely on logic alone, if you make every decision based purely on data, efficiency, or short-term gain, you may miss something critical, meaning. Your heart brings purpose into the equation. It knows what truly matters to you, even when your mind is overwhelmed by options. It's the part of you that recognizes passion, that feels empathy, that tells you when something feels right, even if it doesn't make perfect sense on paper. And more often than not, it's those gut feelings that end up guiding you toward something far more fulfilling than what logic alone could deliver. When you start listening to your heart in business, you begin making decisions that go beyond just profit. You start thinking about how you treat people. You start valuing long-term trust over quick wins. You start building with integrity instead of shortcuts. Your heart helps you build something that reflects who you are, not just what you want to achieve. And that's how lasting value is created. We live in a world where people are constantly told to be rational, to avoid emotions when making decisions. But here's the truth: emotion isn't a weakness. It's a powerful tool when you understand how to use it. It helps you connect with others. It helps you care about your customers, your team, your mission. It's what gives your work a human side. And in an age where people crave authenticity, that's more important than ever. Think about the people you admire most, not just because of what they've built, but because of how they did it. Chances are they didn't just follow a formula. They followed their intuition. They listened to that quiet inner voice that said, "This is worth doing," even when others didn't see the potential. That kind of inner alignment gives you strength. It gives you resilience when things go wrong, because because you're not just chasing numbers. You're standing for something that matters to you. This doesn't mean you ignore your brain. Far from it. It means you let the heart lead the vision and the brain shape the path. You combine insight with instinct. You ask yourself, does this make sense? But also, does this feel right? That's how you make decisions that are not only smart, but deeply satisfying. It's easy to get pulled away from this balance. There will always be pressure to do what's expected, to fit a certain mold, to make the safe choice that everyone else is making. But if you want to do something extraordinary, you can't rely on conventional thinking alone. You need conviction. And conviction doesn't come from spreadsheets. It comes from within. Sometimes following your heart means walking away from something that looks good on the surface but doesn't align with your values. Other times, it means saying yes to something risky, something uncertain, because deep down, you know it matters. That level of self-trust is not automatic. It comes from practice. It comes from learning to pause, to tune out the noise, and to ask yourself, honestly, what you want this journey to feel like, not just what you want it to look like. When you lead from the heart, people can feel it. Whether it's your team, your clients, your audience, they sense that you're not just in it for the outcome. You're in it for the process, the impact, the connection. And that creates a loyalty, a respect, a sense of purpose that no transaction ever could. So as you move forward, building, learning, growing, don't just think your way through it. Feel your way through it too. Let your heart guide the mission and your brain build the roadmap. When those two work together, you don't just create success. You create something that's real, something that lasts. There's a common belief that education ends the moment you graduate. That once you have your degree or your diploma, you've done your part and you're ready for the world. But the truth is, real education, the kind that changes your life, shapes your thinking, and prepares you for what's coming next, doesn't end with a ceremony. It actually begins the moment you step into the real world and realize that textbooks don't have all the answers. Formal education gives you a foundation, yes. It gives you tools, structure, and exposure to ideas. But if you rely solely on what you learned in a classroom to navigate life, especially in business or in leadership, you'll quickly realize the world moves faster than any curriculum. The rules change. Industries evolve. What worked last year might be obsolete next year. And the only way to keep up, the only way to stay relevant, curious, and valuable is to keep learning, always.